On the 25th of January 1990, a 24-year-old British backpacker named Paul Onions stood by the side of a road just south of Sydney, thumb out, heading for Mildura. A man in a silver Nissan Patrol pulled over. He introduced himself as Bill. He seemed friendly, unremarkable, and harmless. They drove south past Mittagong, less than a kilometer from a place called the Belanglo State Forest. Bill pulled off the road. Then he pulled out a revolver. Paul Onions ran. The man he knew as Bill fired at him as he fled. Onions flagged down a passing car. A woman named Joanne Berry stopped for him. They sped off together, and Onions reported what happened to the local police. Nothing came of it. What Paul Onions didn't know, and what nobody knew at the time, was that the man calling himself Bill had already killed twice by that afternoon. And he wasn't finished. Over the next 2 years, 5 more bodies would be carried into the Belanglo State Forest, and left beneath pyramids of sticks and ferns. The man's name wasn't Bill, it was Ivan Milat. On the 19th of September 1992, 2 orienteering runners moved through a remote section of the Belanglo State Forest, about 15 kilometers southwest of Berrima, New South Wales. One of them noticed something half buried in the undergrowth. To his horror, it was a human body, concealed beneath a carefully arranged pyramid of branches. Police arrived the next morning and found a second body just 30 meters from the first. Dental records confirmed the identities: Caroline Clarke, 21, and Joanne Walters, 22. Both of them were British backpackers, and both were last seen in the King's Cross area of Sydney on the 18th of April, 5 months earlier. Walters had been stabbed 15 times, 4 times in the chest, once in the neck, 9 times in the back. The wounds to her spine would have paralyzed her before she died. Clarke had been shot 10 times in the head. Here's what they don't usually put in the nature documentaries. Caroline Clarke wasn't killed in a struggle. She was shot at the burial site. Investigators swept the forest. They ruled out further discoveries. The case went cold. They were wrong. 13 months later, in October 1993, a local man named Bruce Pryor was searching for firewood in a particularly remote section of Belanglo. He found bones. Human bones. Pryor had been searching that forest on his own for 9 months. He'd become obsessed after the first bodies were found and was convinced there were more. He was right. Police returned with him and uncovered 2 more bodies. They were James Gibson, 19, and Deborah Everist, 19, a young couple from Frankston, Victoria. They'd been missing since December 30th, 1989, nearly 4 years. Gibson's skeleton was found curled in a fetal position. He had 8 stab wounds. A large knife had cut through his upper spine. Everist had been savagely beaten. Her skull fractured in 2 places, her jaw broken. What puzzled investigators was the geography. Gibson's camera had been found on December 31, 1989, the day after they vanished, near Galston Gorge in Sydney's northern suburbs. His backpack turned up on March 13, 1990, in the same area. That's over 120 kilometers from Belanglo. Someone had deliberately scattered their belongings in the opposite direction from the bodies. Someone who knew what they were doing. A week later, on November 1, 1993, a police sweep found a 5th skeleton. It was that of Simone Schmidl, 21, from Germany. She had 8 stab wounds, 2 had severed her spine, and then, on November 4th, the final 2 victims were found. Gabor Neugebauer, 21, and Anja Habschied, 20, were a German couple who'd vanished after leaving a King's Cross hostel on Boxing Day, 1991. Neugebauer had been shot in the head 6 times. Habschied had been decapitated. Her skull was never found. 7 bodies, 5 foreigners, 2 Australians, all under 22 years old. Every one of them buried beneath the same pyramid of sticks, every one of them restrained, stabbed, shot, or beaten, and in several cases, all 3. The killer had spent time with them, camped near the grave sites. The forensic evidence suggested some victims survived for hours after the initial attack. This wasn't a man in a hurry. The New South Wales Police formed Task Force Air, which was comprised of more than 20 detectives and analysts. They linked the crime scenes through matching .22 caliber shell casings from 2 separate weapons and through the distinctive pyramid burials. The profile that emerged was that of a local man, someone with a 4-wheel drive, someone comfortable in the bush, someone with access to firearms and the patience to spend hours, possibly days, with his victims in a remote forest. The reward was raised to $500,000. The public was warned to stop hitchhiking along the Hume Highway, and then, on November 13, 1993, a call came through from the United Kingdom. Paul Onions, the British backpacker who'd escaped a man called Bill 3 years earlier, had seen news coverage of the Belanglo discoveries. He called the task force and told them exactly what happened to him on January 25, 1990. The man who called himself Bill, the silver Nissan Patrol, the revolver, the ropes, the location, less than a kilometer from Belanglo. He fled while Bill fired at him. A woman named Joanne Berry picked him up. They reported it to Borough Police. That police report had gone missing, but a constable had recorded the details in her personal notebook. That theory, that the Belanglo killer was an opportunistic stranger, was wrong. Paul Onions had met Ivan Milat 4 years before the bodies were found. He'd looked him in the eye, he'd sat in his car, and he'd run. He was the one who got away. Ivan Robert Marco Milat was born on December 27, 1944, the fifth of 14 children. The Milat family lived in a rural weatherboard cottage in Bosley Park, west of Sydney. Their father, Stephen, was a Croatian immigrant laborer with a drinking problem and a temper. By all accounts, the parents tried Catholic schools, discipline, but the Milat boys were known to local police from an early age. They spent their afternoons shooting at targets in the backyard. Ivan displayed antisocial behavior as a child, displaying cruelty to animals at an early age. He was sent to a residential school at 13, juvenile detention at 17. By 22, he'd served 3 separate prison sentences for theft and breaking and entering. In 1971, he abducted 2 18-year-old hitchhikers at knife point near Liverpool railway station. He assaulted one of them. They escaped when he stopped at a petrol station. He was arrested, charged, and then with the help of the Milat family lawyer, the case collapsed at trial. The women were discredited on the stand. Milat walked free. Here's the part that should make your blood run cold. By the time Milat started hunting in Belanglo, he had been practicing for nearly 20 years. The road department job gave him intimate knowledge of every fire trail, every forest access road, every place in southern New South Wales where a body could disappear. He didn't just know the forest, he'd helped build the roads into it. On May 22, 1994, 50 police officers, including heavily armed tactical units, surrounded the Milat family home at Cinnabar Street, Eagle Vale. They found a .22 caliber Anschutz rifle, parts of a Ruger 1022 that matched the murder weapon, a Browning pistol, a Bowie knife. They found foreign currency, clothing, a tent, sleeping bags, cameras, belongings from 7 dead backpackers, stored in the house of a man who worked for the Roads and Traffic Authority and had not been at work on any of the days the victims disappeared. 300 police simultaneously raided the homes of his mother and 5 of his brothers. They recovered 24 weapons and over 250 kilograms of ammunition. The trial began on March 26, 1996. Over 18 weeks, 145 witnesses took the stand, including Milat's own family members, who tried to provide alibis. Milat himself testified on June 18th. His defense, the evidence was circumstantial. It was his brothers, not him. On July 27, 1996, the jury found Ivan Milat guilty on all 7 counts of murder, plus the attempted murder, false imprisonment, and robbery of Paul Onions. 7 consecutive life sentences. No possibility of parole. He never confessed, not once. In the 23 years he spent in Goulburn Supermax and later Long Bay Correctional Center, Ivan Milat maintained his innocence. He staged hunger strikes, self-mutilation. He swallowed razor blades, lost 25 kilograms, all in attempts to force appeals that went nowhere. On October 27, 2019, Ivan Milat died of cancer at age 74. He took his secrets with him. You might ask how many more. 7 bodies were found in Belanglo, but the timeline from his first known attack in 1971 to the backpacker murders that ended in 1992 spans over 20 years. Australian politicians have publicly stated there could be dozens more victims due in part to unsolved interstate disappearances and cold cases that match his profile. Young hitchhikers who simply vanished along the highways he knew better than anyone. The Belanglo State Forest is still there. The fire trails are still there. And somewhere under the ferns, there may be more pyramids of sticks that nobody has found yet. If you want more terrifying stories like this one, then please subscribe. We typically post every 5 to 8 days. Stay close and stay safe. Please follow us on social media for the latest images, videos, and sneak peeks.